If I was only allowed to do 3 exercises to get my splits, what would I do? Spoiler alert, none of these exercises involve holding a split. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lori Bloom Flexibility. I've been teaching flexibility and beginning aerial silks classes for the past 3 years. I didn't start training my flexibility until I was well into my 30s. Now I'm 46 and I consider myself a fairly flexible person. And I like to share with you guys all the knowledge of how I got there. So today we're talking about my 3 main exercises that I would do if I was only allowed to do 3 exercises to get my side splits. And what I love about the 3 exercises I'm about to share with you is that you can do them all while watching the TV. I think these 3 exercises have a great combination of strengthening and stretching, both of which are very important if you want to not only get flexible, but stay flexible and not get injured. For all of these 3 exercises, I'm going to go over them on how to do them with yoga blocks, or if you don't have access to yoga blocks, how to do them basically with no tools at all. Also, I am going to throw some links down below if you want yoga blocks or if you want a nice squishy mat like I have. I actually have 2 yoga mats here. I usually train with 2 mats. One is thicker, it supports my knees. One is skinnier, but it has more traction so I don't slip and slide when I'm training. I'm going to put links to all of these down below. If you use my links to purchase your products, I will get a small commission. It'll really help me. It'll really help the channel, and it's super appreciated. But let's get into it. Okay, exercise number 1. So the first exercise that I absolutely love for the splits is a lunge with knee taps or knee bends, depending on if you have good or bad knees. So how I like to measure this out is start from a kneeling position, plant my front foot forward, and then walk it out ever so slightly. The reason I like to walk it out is because for this exercise, I'm trying to keep my hips low. So if my foot's here and I tuck my back foot and I stretch my leg, I'm kind of coming up high and I'm leaning forward. I want to be completely level. So that's why if I walk my foot slightly forward, and for balance, you can use your hands on your front thigh. I lean forward, sink my hips down a little bit, tuck my back toe, and then raise my knee. From there, I try and stay low as I tap my knee on the ground and raise my knee. Now, if you have a knee pain and this really hurts you, you can just bend and straighten your knee so you don't have to feel the ground on that sensitive little knee bone. But also, if you're newer to this and you're really struggling, this is when I love to do it with yoga blocks, or sometimes I just like to do it with yoga blocks so I can get super deep. So with yoga blocks, when I have those to use for balance, I can walk my front foot even more forward, and I can use the yoga blocks to press my torso upright. We really want to try to avoid leaning forward in this specific lunge. So from here, when I have the yoga blocks to hold on to, I can really stretch that back leg, and I really feel it in my hip flexor. As you get stronger and stronger, maybe you can do that with nothing. So that's exercise number 1. I usually do about 10 of those. I'm trying to build up more strength, so I like to do them without any yoga blocks, without my hands on my front thigh. I still have a tendency to lean forward, so I'm working on staying completely upright, and it's a journey, it's a process. But honestly, I remember my first flex class, I was literally doing them like this. I had no strength in this front leg. So building up the strength and the flexibility to do this has really made my splits nice and solid. All right, next exercise. This is just a stretch. It's a hamstring stretch. I like to do it from my knee, less energy. You could do it from standing too, but from my knee is best. But let's just talk about the logistics of this. So I definitely recommend, if you're newer to flexibility, doing this with yoga blocks. I'll show you what you can do if you don't have access to yoga blocks, but let's start with the yoga block version. So you always want to make sure your hips are over your knee. So again, I like to start from this position and just shoot my leg out. From there, I try and maintain a flat back and then fold forward. If you start folding forward and your knee starts to bend, maybe come up a little. Maybe if you have the blocks and you don't have the flexibility, maybe you can build a block tower so you can keep that knee nice and straight. When I bend the knee, I take the stretch out of my hamstring and I'm not really building that flexibility. So I'd rather you be up a little higher with a straight leg than down here with a bent knee. From here, of course, if you start higher on blocks, you can always lower and lower and lower. And over time, this is the first time I'm stretching my hamstring today, but eventually you should be able to fold and then even reach forward. And then from there, you can even challenge yourself more by putting your front heel on a block. And then from there, trying to achieve the same thing. As you get more flexible, I think it's okay to round a little just to relax. But when you are first starting out, I do recommend a nice flat back, but I also recommend playing it a little by ear. If you're here and then you have to round, but you feel more here, I think that might be a little better. I know this is about as far as I can go personally with a flat back, but I feel a much deeper stretch when I start to round so I can get my head closer to my leg. So still trying to maintain that flat back, but a little bit of round is okay if you start to feel it more in your leg. And whenever we say feel it more, we mean a deeper stretch. We don't mean like a tearing sensation or like a bone dislocated sensation. No. And before I move on and show a non-yoga block situation, I also want to point out that the hips in this stretch should be square. So let me face you guys so you can see the difference. So square just basically means your hip bones are both facing the same way, parallel. So if this hip was up, that would be a much different stretch. So you're trying to pull the hip bone down so both of your hip bones are facing forward. So that is stretch number 2. Now, say you're new to flexibility, but you don't have yoga blocks. I would just, boom, come here and then try and lean forward. You could put your hands on your front thigh, or maybe even get 2 books for your hands if you needed them. But yoga blocks for your hamstring stretch will just be so helpful. And we're almost at the third and final stretch. Plus, I have a little bonus information. I want to talk about why I don't think holding a split is the most beneficial stretch for you when trying to get your actual split. But before we get to either of these topics, do you guys mind taking a moment to hit the like and subscribe button with the notification bell on? The notification bell will alert you every time I post new content, and it will really help me out. I'm so close to being fully monetized on this channel. So any little extra view, subscriber, or watch hour I can get will just help me out so much. All right, so the final stretch is a low lunge. So basically, again, I like to plop my front leg out. This time, I definitely want to make sure I walk that foot quite a bit forward. And then I want to sink my hips down as far as they'll possibly go. We're still trying to maintain that square sensation. In other words, you don't want this back hip to flare outwards. Squeeze your butt and then sink everything down. And that just means your legs. That does not mean you sag over that front leg. We're still trying to stay upright. And again, that's why I love blocks for this pose, because you can push off the blocks. And from here, I just like to hold this. I've built myself up to doing 2 to 3 minute holds in this low lunge position. To challenge yourself, get into the pose with blocks under your hands, but then put the blocks aside and just shoot your fingers downwards. This is forcing you to use more strength. Building strength helps your flexibility so much. Now, if you don't have blocks to do this, hands on front thigh, or what I like to do is one hand on the front thigh, the other thumb behind you, just to keep that hip pushing downwards. Really focus in on the hips if you're new to this. I have a lot of newer students just not quite understand that concept, and they'll be up here, and when I tell them to sink, they kind of sink their torso down, but not their hips down. So when you do a split, it's a lot on your hips. So you really want to stretch that out. This exercise helps you do that. So third and final, low lunge. But let's talk about why I did not suggest holding a split to get a split. Now, I do think holding a split is super, super beneficial. I do 2 to 3 minute split holds every day, and that's helped me get my over splits. The reason I think that if you're newer to training splits, that it is not good to hold a split is because oftentimes my newer students are not holding a split correctly. Let me tell you what I mean. This is what I'll see in class. So my students will have their blocks. I'll say, okay, we're gonna hold a split, and I'll see this. Something like this. Yeah? The back hip is flared out. They're leaning forward. The front knee is bent. When we're doing our actual split holds, unless we're working on a forward fold split or a different exercise, but when we're actually doing our split holds, again, we want to be relatively square. We want to be relatively upright. If you don't have the flexibility to do that yet, like if you're all the way up here and you're kind of holding the wrong position like this, it's just not going to help you as much as the other exercises will help you. But say you want to add on a fourth exercise to those 3, you're not close to your splits yet, but you have been working on it. Just make sure, even if you're up here, everything is facing forward, front leg is straight, and you're trying to lean forward as little as possible. This is a great split hold position for someone who does not have their full split yet. And listen, you guys, that's all I have for you today. What do you think of these exercises? Let me know in the comment box below. If you want to take class with me in person, I am a substitute teacher at Levitate in New York City and Body and Pull in New York City. Keep your eyes out for me on the schedule. But once again, don't forget to follow me because this platform here is the best place to find content from me. And until the next time, I want you guys to have a fit and fabulous day. Bye-bye.